intersection of making art and making money. What do you want from this year? And how are you going to get it? I want us to get clear on what you want from this year and how you're going to go about getting it by using the framework mission, then strategy, then tactics. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 89. I'm Swiger, and I help makers feel awesome about their business by addressing profitability, marketing, time management, and yes, goal setting and goal planning, because it's not just enough to set the goal, you actually need to make a plan for reaching it. So I absolutely love this time of year at the beginning of the year because everyone seems to be taking a step back and looking at what they really want to get out of the new year and what their bigger vision is. So all year long, blogs and articles and podcasts seem to be obsessed with the minutia of running a business. And if you guys have been listening to the podcast for long, you know that this is something that really bothers me because there are so many blog posts and topics and articles about how to get more followers, how exactly to blog, how to use specific tools. And that is starting at the end. You need to start at the beginning. But at this time of year, everybody seems to be stepping back and looking at what comes before all those individual tools and tactics and looking at clarity on where you're going. So I love that. I love this time of year because this is one of my most favorite topics. And I feel like this is the key to moving your business forward if you feel really stuck right now. So back in September, I wrote a post titled What Matters More Than Followers, and I talked a lot about this framework, mission, strategy, and tactics. And I talked about the necessity of stepping back and looking at the big picture before you pick your individual tactics or tools you're going to use. And that post prompted so much discussion, so many questions, so many emails, and it's come up again and again in conversations on Periscopes and even on the webinar I did last year. So I wanted to dive even deeper into it now and really put the full explanation in one place because I feel like I've explained this in little bits and pieces in a bunch of places, but I want to dive deeper into it now because we're all thinking about what we want for the new year, and I think this is a framework you can use not only as you plan your year, but also as you work on any project in the coming year or any goal, and it can really help you make decisions in your business. So if you've been feeling frustrated in your business, if you've been feeling frustrated about its growth, if you've been frustrated about how you're spending your time or why you don't seem to be getting any traction, this might be the answer. If you feel like you scramble back and forth between things without seeing traction in any of them, really moving forward in any of them, this might be the answer. And the answer is super simple. You're going about it in the wrong order. You see, lots of us read posts about how to get more followers on Instagram or how to get more traffic via Pinterest or how to use tags on Etsy. And we dive right into that little minutia tactical stuff. And we go around and around doing bits and pieces of a bunch of stuff. And that's fine for a while. And sometimes when you're getting started in business, that's where you start. But that's not enough, and it's not sustainable, and it doesn't lead to growth, and it doesn't lead to an actual business. It leads to you just doing a bunch of stuff. Right? So instead, I want you to think about your business the way a military tactician does. First, you set a mission, then you create a strategy to reach that mission, and only after that do you choose tactics and then you implement them. But the tactics help you implement your strategy. They're not random, and they're not just because you wrote a blog post about, or you read a blog post about it. It's that they're all in line with your strategy. So I guide students through this system through my programs because I ask them first to get clear on their mission, then to create a goal, and then to create a strategy, a very specific strategy for reaching that very specific goal. And for that, we use the map making guide, which you can actually find outside of my programs at taraswiger.com/map. So if you're not in one of my programs, you can find the map making guide at taraswiger.com/map. And that helps you create a goal and then create a strategy for that goal. And then, and only then, do I want to talk to my students about using tactics and specific tools. So I've talked about this a little bit on Periscope and webinars, and I've gotten so many questions that I want to really break this down and put all of this in one place, what I mean by mission, strategy, and tactics. And keep in mind, this is not a framework I made up. This is a framework that a lot of big corporate-y businesses use. This is also a tactic that the military uses. This is a framework that a lot of people use to move big organizations towards a goal, but you can use it in your tiny one-girl organization in the same way. So let's start with mission. Mission is the big why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Where do you want it all to go? What is your destination? What is it all about? Why are you doing it? And it's important to notice that most of us, especially that are building a business, have two sides of your mission. There's the mission for your people, or what I think of as the outer facing goal. And that's, what do you want to bring into the world? What do you want to do to impact the lives of your people? Who are your people? Who are you serving? How are you serving them? What are you making for them? That's half of your mission. The second half of your mission is the mission for yourself, or what I think of as your inner facing mission. This is, what do you want your business and what you're creating to bring into your life? What do you want to build for you? And if you think about your own business, you can probably identify which one of those missions you're pretty clear about and which one is kind of fuzzy. So a lot of artists make their art because they want to make their art. That's their inner-facing mission. But in order to build a business around it, you also need to know what you want it to bring into the world. You need to have your outer-facing mission. Otherwise, customers don't care. A lot of people want to support artists, but only if they see what that art is bringing into their lives. So you need to get clear not only on the mission for you, but also on the mission for them and what it's going to do for the people that you're serving. So before you choose a strategy or even a goal for this year, you want to be clear on both sides of your mission. So some people find one side of their mission to be more motivational, and that's totally fine. Like, some people are more motivated by what they're building in their own life or by their need to create their own art, and other people are more motivated by what they want to create for the world and what they want to bring into the world. That is totally fine, but you need to identify both sides because your customers are going to support and get behind your outer facing mission. And in order to keep going and make profitable decisions, you need to be clear about your inner facing mission. So you need to build a business that's in alignment with your personal and inner facing mission if you're going to move forward, if you're going to keep it sustainable, if you're going to keep going. And if you get totally focused on the outer facing mission, it's very easy to set it up like a charity or like mission work instead of building something that's sustainable and can keep you creating your art for years and years and years. Now, you don't have to have a big fancy reason. When I talk about mission, it does not have to be something like world-shattering, life-changing. It can just be, I want to make $2,000 a month from my business. Like, that's an inner-facing mission. It could also be, I want to make a living from my art, or I want to share my art with the world because I want to bring more joy into people's lives. Or I want to just earn some money at home while I'm home with my kids. You do not need a fancy mission in order to have a mission. You just need to be clear about what it is, both for you and for what you're bringing into the world. So I'm going to give you an example. My mission is, I want to help makers and artists feel awesome about sharing their work with the world in a sustainable, and that means profitable way, while, this is the interfacing part, while creating a sustainable life for myself and my family, and allowing us to reach all the goals we have, we being both me and my husband. So if you're not clear on your mission, you can check out, I shared some questions last year in January in episode 37, and that's titled Welcoming in the New Year. You can use any of the tools I mentioned there. I mentioned several like year plotting and planning tools, both my own and those of my friends and ones that my clients have recommended. So that's episode 37 of Explore Your Enthusiasm. It's called Welcoming in the New Year. There are lots of questions there you can answer. Now, after you figure out your mission, then you don't go running and like figure out what tool you're going to use. You don't think about Instagram or your email list or your blog. Instead, you focus on strategy. So it's mission, then strategy. Strategy is how you go about completing your mission. And I want to be clear here. You may have several strategies. You might not just have one strategy. You might have a strategy for reaching a goal, a strategy for marketing your work consistently, a strategy for managing your time. They're not really all separate. They all work together to form the system and the foundation of your business and your actual everyday life. Right? So it's not that you just have one mission and then one strategy and that's it. At different times, you're going to come up with different strategies and deploy them to reach the goals you have right then, because the really important thing is all of this is changing. And we're going to talk about that more in a minute, but don't feel like you have to have it figured out once and for all and never change it ever again. It's always going to be changing. So your mission is going to impact all of your strategies. Your mission for your own life is going to affect what goals you set, how many sales you want to make, how much time you want to spend. Your mission as it relates to your customers, that outer facing mission, is going to impact what you offer, where you offer it, how you communicate. In other words, your marketing, right? The clearer you are about who you're serving and how you're serving them, the easier it will be to develop a strategy to reach them and serve them. Now, one of your strategies is probably going to be one of your goals this year, right? Like you might have a strategy for how you're going to reach one of your goals. And I think that this is a really great place to kind of stop and think about your goals for the year. Because if a goal is going to be reached, it first has to be in alignment with your mission and strategy. But that's kind of backwards. I'm thinking if you already have a goal, you want to make sure it's in line with your mission and strategy. Ideally, your goal comes from you thinking through your mission, you thinking about the strategies, then you set a goal and the goal is really just to let you know you've implemented and you've succeeded at one small part of your mission, right? So that is kind of the flow of how it works. But if you already have a goal, like you've decided, hey, my goal this year is to do this, go back and check. Is this in alignment with my bigger mission, both the internal and the external mission? And how does this fit in? How does this fit into how else I'm trying to reach that mission? What other strategies I have in place for how I'm trying to reach that mission? Because the best, the most attainable, the goals you're going to get most excited about come straight from your mission and strategy. It's perfectly in alignment and it all fits together into the bigger vision of your business. So let me share an example because this can be kind of vague what we've said so far. So an example from my own business is that my mission is to help makers and artists feel awesome about sharing their work in the world in a sustainable and profitable way while creating a sustainable life for myself and my family, right? So one of my strategies to actually do that is to publish a book. Now this is going to allow me to reach more people and it's going to allow me to have a different kind of platform, both to reach more people and for that inner part of the sustainable business for myself. So that's my big goal for this year, is to find an agent and a publisher for my book proposal. So you can see how that's in line with the strategy of publishing a book, that's in line with the mission of what I want to do in the world. My goal is right in line with all of that. So that's my goal for the year, is to find an agent and find a publisher for my book proposal. Now, another one of my strategies, because you have multiple going on at a time, right, is to connect with my customers on a consistent basis. And this allows me to both help them feel awesome regularly and encourage them and help them feel good. And it allows me to create consistency that's going to lead to regular sales because I'm showing up consistently and connecting with them. And that allows me to build a sustainable life. So you can see how each of these strategies meets both my inner and my outer missions. Now, another strategy I have, because remember, you have a couple, is to teach in person. So I meet students in real life and reach more people than I might if I was just all alone and online. And it also allows me to build deeper relationships and actually learn more about the people I'm helping so that I can be more helpful. So those are a couple of my strategies, but many of you sell a physical item. So your strategies, perhaps your mission is to make $2,000 a month, and that's your inner mission, and your outer mission is to share your work with the world in order to bring more, let's say, color into people's living rooms, right? If you make pillows or you make housewares or you make art that hangs on the wall, that might be one of your mission. That might be your mission. So then your strategies, you might have a strategy for online sales, and those strategies might be about how you're going to connect regularly and market regularly. You might have a strategy for getting press. You might have a strategy that includes being in the shops where your people shop. So that would be like a retail strategy. You might do craft shows. That would be another strategy. These are all just kind of the big picture of how you're going to go about reaching your mission. And that brings us to tactics. So tactics are how you actually do the strategy. So if I say you have an online strategy, it's like, well, what is it? What it is are the tactics, the individual tools you use. You have an email list, you have a blog, you use Instagram maybe, and you use those tools. Maybe you Instagram every day when your people are online. Maybe you send an email every month with your newest products and a coupon code for your subscribers. Maybe on your blog you put your pictures from Instagram. Those might be the tactics and the plans for how you are implementing your online strategy. If you had a retail strategy getting into shops, your tactics might be how you approach shops, your line sheet, your getting better at selling to shops, maybe going to trade shows, that kind of thing. So tactics are implementation of your strategy. They're the particular actions you're going to do, how you're going to implement your strategy, what you're going to be doing with your days, right? And this is where learning about social media tools or blogging or managing your time better, this is where that comes in. Those are all tactics. So in my previous examples, if my strategy is to connect consistently online, my tactics are my weekly emails and free challenges, which you can get at taraswiger.com/list. This podcast, which comes out every week, Explore Your Enthusiasm, my every weekday Periscopes, which you can find at periscope.tv/taraswiger. Putting these podcast recordings and the occasional Periscope on YouTube, which you can find at taraswiger.com/YouTube. And Instagram. Okay, so those are all tactics to go with my strategy. Now keep in mind, I've been doing this for over 5 years. This particular thing. So I have a lot more tactics and tools in my tool bag, but they weren't all there at first, right? I just added Periscope in 2015. I just added the podcast in 2014. I just got consistent with weekly emails in 2013. So you don't start right out of the gate with all of the tactics working perfectly. Because like I mentioned earlier, this is always going to be changing and shifting. You're always going to be making it more and more effective. And in order to do that, you got to try something. So you try a tactic to implement your strategy and you see if it works. You try it for 3 or 6 months. You set a very specific measurable experiment. Like I'm going to do it in this way and I'm going to see what are the results. Then you implement that and then you check it out. Did that work? Maybe it didn't. So you try a different tool. Maybe that worked beautifully and now you've got consistent. You feel like you've got a handle on it. So then you add a new tactic and you test that. Is that working? So this is the way that you don't get overwhelmed by every blog post that comes along and tells you you need to be on Periscope, you need to be on Instagram, you need to be doing this or that and selling your firstborn in order to make sales on Etsy. Instead, you think through the tools you think are going to work. And if you need help with that, my book, Market Yourself, actually walks you through creating your marketing plan, because a lot of these examples are marketing tactic examples. It helps you think through your marketing plan and choose the tools that are going to work best for you. You can find that or a signed copy of that at taraswiger.com/book. But that all of these decisions are decisions you're going to make one at a time. Instead of doing whatever the most recent blog post, even my blog post or my podcast tell you is awesome and it's going to work beautifully for you, you try them one at a time. You see if it actually implements your strategy. And if it doesn't, you get rid of it and you try something new. And that's the way you keep from getting overwhelmed. You keep from like doing too many crazy things and you get super consistent with the tools that are most effective for you. Now, it's usually when we get to this point in the discussion, when I've explained this to people on Periscope or to my clients, that they say, oh, I realize now I've been focusing entirely on tactics. I've been trying to find the perfect planner or figure out what to blog about or figuring out how to use Instagram and the hashtags on Instagram, but I haven't actually figured out my overall strategy that's going to get me to my mission. I've just been like, this tool, how do I use this tool? Instead of thinking, how does this tool fit into my strategy that helps me reach my mission and helps me reach my individual goals for this quarter or for this year? So if you're having that realization now, I want you to pause the podcast, sit down with a notebook, and look at your mission. Ask yourself, what is my mission? And make sure you have both parts of it, your outer-facing mission and your inner-facing mission. Now, the more specific you can get about it, awesome, but you don't have to get super specific in the beginning, because as you go, as your business grows, your mission is going to get more and more specific. You're going to get more and more clear about what you are doing in the world, what you're offering that no one else is offering, and how your people respond to it and who your people really are. You're going to learn all that as you go. So get as specific as you can currently and know that it will change as time goes on. So get clear on your mission, and then I want you to think about what specific strategies you're going to use to get there. Some examples of strategies might be online and social media. They might be email, which I realize is online but slightly different than social media. Your strategy might be retail, showing up in person either in a boutique or at craft shows or trade shows in order to get into those boutiques. A strategy might be publishing a book, self-publishing or traditionally publishing. I'm sure I'm missing, strategies might be having an online shop, either on Etsy, on Shopify, on your own website. choosing that is choosing a strategy and then choosing a tactic in order to make that awesome. Now, where people get stuck and where I see them saying, oh, I've been working on my business for 6 months or 2 years and I haven't made any sales, it's often that they haven't fully chosen a strategy and committed to it. Instead, they put a couple things in an Etsy shop, a couple things in a Shopify shop, they opened a Twitter account, they opened an Instagram account, and they just keep going back and forth between the things, as opposed to choosing one strategy and then fully implementing it, going whole hog for at least a year, making that work, doing all of the things to make it work. Because you see, once you choose a strategy and you choose a couple tactics, then you can do all that research and reading and blog reading and book reading and podcast listening to figure out how to make those really, really awesome. Like, that's the stage that then you take a class in something because you're like, gee, I don't know how to be awesome at Instagram. I should take a class on that. I feel like I'm not managing my time right, so I should take a class on that. That is when you start to invest in your business because you know what you're going to focus on and what you want to make work for business. Now, like I said, if you're having a hard time choosing between the tools or you have no idea who your people are, my book, Market Yourself, walks you through the process of figuring out what makes your work special, who your people are, and what tools you're going to use. And you can find that at taraswiger.com/book. Now, if your goal is related to, let me back up, right? So we talked about sitting down, figuring out your mission, figuring out what strategy you're going to use. And so we've had a lot of examples of marketing strategies because I think that's where people, that's what most blog posts are about. That's what most people are thinking about. That's how you have more sales. But if your goal is different and it's not sales related, you probably also need a strategy in order to reach that goal. Now, if your goal is related to sales, for example, you want to make $1,000 a month or you want to get 10 more sales, then it's possible that figuring out your marketing strategy and implementing that is a strategy to reach your goal. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have any marketing strategy yet and your goal is to make more sales, then your marketing strategy will be the strategy to reach your goal. But if your goal is something else entirely, like mine is related to publishing a book, or it's about getting press, or your goal is about getting in 5 more retail locations, then you need to develop a strategy to reach that goal. Right? You need to figure out what are the individual steps and tactics you're going to take in order to reach that goal. And then you look at tactics. Then you choose the tools that are going to help you implement that strategy. And if you're wondering what are all the steps, the actual to-dos you'll do in order to reach a goal like that, you can check out the map making guide, which walks you through the process of breaking that down and asks you questions that can help you identify the things you already know you need to do in order to reach that goal. And you can find that at taraswiger.com/map. So I hope that this framework helps you make better decisions in your business. I hope it keeps you from feeling overwhelmed by all of the many things you could be doing. And I hope it helps you reach all of the goals that you've set for this year. If this episode has helped you realize you need to create an actual plan, check out the map making guide. That's at taraswiger.com/map. It's going to walk you through making a plan for your goal. And I want to end by reminding you your strategy and tactics are never done. So there's a saying I love that says the map is not the territory. And what that means is that a map of something is not the same as actually walking through the something, right? A picture of something is not the same as actually holding the thing in your hand. So the thing that you're mapping, and in our case, the thing we're planning and strategizing about, it's going to be different when you're actually doing it. And that's okay. That's a fact of life. It doesn't mean you've messed anything up. When your strategy and your idea of tactics don't actually line up with what happens in the real world, you haven't failed. You've simply collected data. So you're going to use that data to make a more effective strategy and to use tactics more effectively next time. So they're never done. They're always under construction, but don't let this deter you. So some people hear that and they think, well, then what's the point? Well, the point is until you commit to something and do something, you can't learn the lessons to make it more effective. So not choosing a strategy, choosing tactics that you're going to really focus on, that doesn't teach you anything. You just keep jumping around and you don't learn any lessons about what really works and what doesn't work for you. So plan a strategy, commit to doing it, and then see what works and do more of that. See what doesn't work and do less of that In this way, your strategy and your tactics are going to become more and more effective over time. You're actually going to know what works for you and your business. And this, by the way, is information you can't buy from anyone else. You cannot get anyone to tell you what is going to work in your business with your people. You can only figure it out by doing it and paying attention to what's working and what's not. And also, I don't want you to feel bad about wherever you are right now. You are in the perfect place at the perfect time to start implementing something. It's not too late to get clear on your mission. It's not too late to develop a strategy. It's never too late because, again, these things are always going to be changing. You are always going to be working on them. You are never going to be done with them. So, I want to just encourage you, wherever you are, start now. It's okay. You're going to make changes. That's part of the process. In fact, what I'm doing this week is reviewing all of my own strategies and my own tactics to figure out which ones are the most effective at bringing me towards my mission. I may drop some of the tactics I'm using now. I may change how I use some, but I'm reminding myself that they're never done and that I should always be reviewing them and checking out what's working. Like at this point, I've developed so much consistency and systems to just doing the same thing, right? The podcast episode, the weekly email lessons, the Instagram posts each day, the periscopes, the pinning of my blog posts. Those are all systems. And even though all the systems run, I actually need to check if they're effective or not and adjust my strategy accordingly. Because again, they're always under construction, and that's okay. That's not a reason not to start. So I wish you the best of luck in your own construction projects. I'd love to hear about how you're implementing this. So please share your mission, your strategy, your tactics on Instagram. If Instagram is one of your tactics, use the hashtag #ExploreYourEnthusiasm and check your spelling. I realize there are a lot of misspelled uses out there, and I've checked them and I've been like, oh no, you posted in the wrong place. So the hashtag #ExploreYourEnthusiasm, spelled correctly. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends on social media and leave a comment in iTunes. That helps other people find it, and your comments and a review on iTunes just completely make my day. Thank you so much for listening, and have a very enthusiastic, fantastic week. Thanks so much for listening to Explore Your Enthusiasm.